Does Alex Bregman signing with the Cubs actually help the Mariners? We'll answer that and more coming up here on Mailbag Monday. Colby, hit it.
You are Locked On Mariners, your daily Seattle Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Ahoy, sailors. It is Monday, January 12th, 2026. You're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. My name is Titan Gonzalez, and I'm joined as always by my co-host Colby Patnode. We're two lifelong Mariners fans who have been covering the team for over half a decade, and today we're going to open up the mailbag like we do here every single Monday and answer some of your Mariners questions. But before we do, I want to shout out our title sponsor today, FanDuel. Playoff football is here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day, including tonight. Hopefully that game is a lot better than the one that I actually got a chance to watch yesterday. I only got to watch one game yesterday, and it was Pats Chargers.
The worst one.
It was by far the worst one. Yeah, I didn't even finish watching it. That's how bad it was. So, but also old man Rodgers against the Texans defense. I don't like my chances.
You also thought that the Bears were cooked, so
True, fair.
We'll see what happens, but yes, a lot of big game energy from the first round of the playoffs, except for the one game you happen to be able to watch.
Yeah, yikes. Anyway, this is a baseball podcast, so let's answer some baseball questions. Nate wants to know, clearly the Cubs are going for it, so it's hard to see them trading Nico Hoerner, even at the risk of getting nothing for him if he leaves in free agency next year. Is there anyone we could offer that would help their MLB club this year and make it worth it for them?
Mariners' major league roster is a lot like their minor league, the farm report, right? It's a little top heavy, and there's not a lot of depth once you get past that top layer. And so, the major league for major leaguer swap is tough. I think that, in general, could the Cubs be interested in Bizardo, Spire, Brash, Munoz, heck, maybe even Ferrer? You can trade them. You can trade them if you need to. I don't think they would, but you can. I think that would be of interest to the Cubs, and it might kickstart something. And then it's like, okay, but are they going to want Cole Young on top of that? It just kind of is one of those things where there's not a good fit. And this was true before the Bregman signing as well. I really honestly don't think the odds of the Mariners acquiring Nico Hoerner have gone up or down since the acquisition of Bregman, because the odds were always pretty low. But I don't think that we should just assume that the Cubs are going to act like a big market team. They never really have before. And so I don't think that we should just assume, they'll just eat it and they'll be fine. The Cubs were shopping Hoerner last winter. They shopping him this winter. And now, even after Bregman, they will not close the door on keeping Hoerner because they know that they're not going to get an extension done. And so it's kind of one of those things where it's like, look, do I think it's super likely that Hoerner gets traded? No. Did I think it was super likely before? No. I don't think it's super likely after. And I think the problem is the same as it was prior to what happened this weekend, is that if they're not willing to take a prospect package, what do you have to offer? And this is kind of the problem with just about anybody the Mariners want to acquire. If you can't get that player for prospects, you're in a bit of a pickle, because it's very difficult with how close you are to your budget already to continue to add depth pieces after you trade away these contributors. So that's the big problem with any kind of trade, is hey, once you start telling me I need major league talent in return for this guy, the trade gets very, very dicey. Even if you want to consider the Mariners have some starting pitching depth, which they don't, but even if you're okay with Logan Evans, right? You're not trading 2 years of Logan Gilbert for 1 year of Hoerner. You're not trading 3 years of Kirby. You're not trading four years of Wu or Miller. So it's just one of those things where it's a really tough fit right now, because the Mariners want to trade their good prospects. They're not trying to get cheap, right? They're just want to trade prospects, not their major league talent, because they don't have the major league talent really to spare right now. They need to add major league talent, not subtract from it. So it's a really weird spot. But I still think Hoerner could be made available this winter. I think he could be traded. I would just say, like I've always said, if the demand is that there's a major league player involved, like a good major league player involved, it's going to make it very difficult for the Mariners to acquire him.
Yeah, I think it's, less about like, oh, well, now they've added Bregman, so why would they trade Hoerner? Because they were clearly like trying to go for it and trying to win a championship in 2026. And that's true, right? And that makes, keeping Hoerner make even more sense. But I think in the end, it's less about that and more about, can the Mariners actually fit the bill? Right? Can they meet the asking price that the Cubs are putting out there? And it might not be as ridiculous as like, yeah, we want Bryan Wu for Nico Hoerner, and that's it. That's the only way we're trading Nico Hoerner, is if you're going to give us something and just insane, right? If you're just going to blow us out of the water. I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's also just like, even if it is, Gabe Spire plus a prospect, is that something the Mariners are willing to do? Do they feel like they can withstand the blow in the bullpen, even though that they're going to be adding an everyday player, a really good everyday up the middle player? Like, do they feel that they can withstand the blow in the bullpen when they have spent this offseason trying to bolster that group, especially after all those guys threw as many innings as they did this past year? Or like, Randy, I don't know why Randy Arozarena would appeal to the Cubs, but I'm just using him as an example here, just, for just the general discussion about major leaguer swaps for the Mariners. Like, is that something the Mariners feel like they can withstand, trading Randy Arozarena to get better elsewhere? Like, I don't know, so I think it's less about the presence of Bregman and more just about, can the Mariners meet that cost regardless of what the situation is in Chicago?
Yeah, it's hard to see it.
Yeah, and that's where I get hung up on, right now. So
I think if you dangled Matt Brash, the Cubs would get interested real fast. But again, how do the Mariners go and replace Matt Brash?
Right.
They kind of can't. So they're in a weird spot.
Yeah, at that point you just have to accept, like, our bullpen is just going to be worse going into 2026.
Yep.
And
you hope you can recreate Matt Brash, but there's no guarantee that you can, and the likelihood is you won't. But maybe Hoppy is that guy. I don't know.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that's what we're talking about, to get like the interest, because you're not trading one of your starters for Hoerner. But I think if you put Matt Brash on the table, I think the Cubs get interested real fast. But like Ty's been talking about, how do you weather that? Like, is the trade-off worth it? Could be. Yeah. Might not be. So,
and there's no reason to think right now that they would trade Hoerner just for a pure prospect package. Now, again, maybe like I talked about on Twitter yesterday, maybe they just see this as such a great opportunity, too great of an opportunity to pass up. With all the because of how limited the market is for up the middle players and the demand for them. And obviously the Mariners are not going to be the only team that call the Cubs about Nico Hoerner this winter. So with the kinds of offers that I think would be very lucrative that are going to be, waived at the Cubs, could they just see this as like, all right, this is too good to pass up on? But in general, do I think that they're going to take a pure prospect package for Nico Hoerner? I have a hard time seeing it, because like, last year, they were willing to trade him even when they were simultaneously attempting to go for it. But they were trying to do that specifically for Luis Castillo. So, we can use the evidence of like, well, they were willing to do it last year when he had 2 years left of club control. So clearly they would do it now that he only has 1 year left of club control. But like, it's probably still for a major leaguer swap. Probably still for a guy that helps them in 2026. So we'll see. Again, maybe they just see, like maybe the Mariners are willing to offer them like Jurangelo Cijntje and Michael Arroyo, right? Not saying that they actually are, but like maybe the Mariners are willing to do that because they just love Nico Hoerner so much. And the Cubs look at that and they go, okay, well, those guys don't help us in 2026, but that's just too good to pass up on. Maybe that happens. Maybe. But I have a hard time seeing it. All right, we will answer more of your questions in just a moment. But first, a reminder, this episode of the Locked On Mariners podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Football playoffs are here, and FanDuel is officially in playoff mode. Every game day during the NFL playoffs, FanDuel is giving customers even more ways to get in on the action. Because right now, every NFL playoff game day, FanDuel users get a profit boost pack waiting for them inside the app. Each game day, you'll see a pack loaded with multiple profit boosts you can apply to the bets you like most. Open your profit boost pack first thing on game day and see what boosts you want to apply. The boosts let you lean into your game day instincts, whether you're backing momentum, defense, quarterback play, or coaching. The boosts give you more juice on the bets you already like instead of forcing you to bet something new. Every play feels bigger, and the boosts make your bets feel that way too. You make your picks and apply your profit boosts to go after even bigger payouts while the playoffs get rolling. So visit FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, and grab your profit boost pack every NFL playoff game day. And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen for all things Mariners. And also thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You are a live your team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Mariners with no interruptions, members only Discord access, and more, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonmariners.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Now, before we get back into your questions here on Mailbag Monday, I got to shout out a special lady in my life and also in our community. She is our #1 viewer on YouTube. You can see this in our analytics, Colby. Shout out to my wife, Caroline, whose birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday to my beautiful wife.
She's 100% real, but okay.
She's to my beautiful, very real wife, Caroline.
Very real Canadian wife, yes.
Mm-hmm. Again, her birthday is tomorrow, but obviously we're not doing a show tomorrow. So if you're watching on YouTube, greatly appreciate it if you'd help me out and wishing this beautiful woman a happy birthday down in the comments below. Sweet Caroline. Ba, ba, ba. This isn't a Red Sox podcast.
Yeah. Thank God.
Ross has a question here. Rank by likelihood for 2026. Dominic Canzone, equal or better than his 2025 regular season. Victor Robles, equal or better than his 2024 season. Luke Raley, equal or better than his 2023 and 2024 seasons. At least one is within 10% of their peak. All three are closest to how they ended 2025.
I mean, I think mathematically speaking, the correct way is to say that at least one of them will be within 10% of their peak. Those are just the best odds. But if you throw that one out, I think Raley is the most likely to bounce back to where we think he needs to be. Then I would say second most likely is probably that they're all closest to how they ended 2025. Now, I don't know if you mean specifically like Canzone, how he looked in the playoffs, or if you can just repeat what he did. Blah blah blah. So it's a little tough to answer it that way, but I would say Raley's the most likely guy of the three to kind of bounce back to their norm. And then Canzone and Robles, I have a really hard time imagining Victor Robles ever being anything close to what he was for the last couple
he was one of the best hitters in all of baseball.
Right. So I would say that's far and away the least likely. But I don't think it's very likely that Dom Canzone's a 140 WRC plus again.
He's a 300 hitter. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't see that.
Because it wasn't just power output, right? It was also high batting average, and I don't think Canzone, like his swing is, I don't think his like swing is conducive to a high batting average over the course of a full season. Even if he does kind of pick up where he left off in the regular season, I'm saying not in the playoffs, like even if he does kind of carry that over into 2026, which would be great, I still don't think that he's going to be like a 300 hitter.
No, he doesn't have to be, but like, that's that. I think if Canzone proves he's an everyday type of bat, it's going to be because he hits 250 with a decent on base, and then he's going to slug a lot. I think that's the path to Canzone being an everyday type of guy. But I would say even that is more likely than ever seeing second half Victor Robles again. Yeah. So, it's I would say to using all the options, the most likely is at least 1% or at least one of them is within 10% of their peak. The second most likely is that Raley gets back to 23, 24 self. I would say how they ended 2025 is probably the third most likely. I think Canzone repeating what he did last year is fourth, and I think Robles being what he was in 2024 is far and away the least likely.
Yeah, I mean, the safest bet, like for number one, would probably be like all three are closest to how they ended 2025. Yeah. Because who knows how Raley is going to bounce back? But I'm pretty optimistic about that, so I'm with you. I'll put him number one as getting closer to his 2023-2024 seasons being equal or better than that. I mean, but like for him to be equal or better than that, like he's got to be a 129 plus WRC plus guy. So like I don't know. I kind of feel like maybe it's at least one is within 10% of their peak. Maybe that should be number one. Actually,
yeah,
because like I think Raley will bounce back. Do I think he's going to be a 130 WRC plus though? I don't know. Could he be like 115, 120?
10% of the peak, then 117 or higher.
Yeah. So yeah. So I'll do at least one is within 10% of their peak, and that one is specifically for Raley. I'll do that number one.
Yeah.
I'll do the Raley equal or better than his 2023 and 2024 seasons for number two. I'll do all three are closest to how they ended 2025 as number three. I'll do Canzone number four, and then Robles number five.
I think that's how I had it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm buying a Luke Raley bounce back. And I'm hoping that one of Canzone or Robles is remotely close to their peaks that we've seen them in Mariners uniform. I would like to not be banking on either of those things, but we are right now.
All right. Seesaw Effect wants to know, all the talk has been on trade options, but are there any bats that the Mariners could still be interested in free agency, realistic signing options, not guys like Bichette or Tucker? To me, it starts with, Yoan Moncada. Play some third, play some DH, Willie Castro, Luis Rengifo,
Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah. There aren't a lot of guys, to be honest with you.
I think Ramon Urias might be kind of interesting. It's a 104 career WRC plus, which honestly kind of makes him like Alec Boehm, except he's a better defender and he can also play second. Yeah. So I watch Urias as a possibility here. I don't think they're going to dive into the Tommy Pham waters. There's,
Yeah.
I could see them maybe trying to chase a bounce back on McCormick, but they've already got enough issues on their outfield to kind of add another guy like that.
I don't see them adding a free agent outfielder. I think the only way that they would, break up the Ref Snyder Canzone platoon or the Raley Robles platoon would be for someone like Steven Kwan, like we talked about on Friday. Like if they traded for like a really, really good outfielder, I don't think they would just sign like a fringe type of outfielder.
Probably not to a major league deal, maybe to a minor league deal, but whatever. I think it's Hoskins. I think it's maybe Andahar. They might have some interest in.
Yeah.
I think those are probably the two biggest. And then Willie Castro, Rengifo, Yoan Moncada, I think three other guys that make a good deal since. I don't think they'll get to this point, really. But I would just mention it because he's still out there. We know the Mariners have really liked Nathaniel Lowe in the past. Do they want him to be the full-time DH, though? Probably not, which is what his role would be. But he's only 30. He's fit and he has been a target in the past, so I'll throw him out there as maybe a deeper cut. But yeah, there are a handful of guys who are not in that top tier who still make sense for Seattle. And honestly, the Mariners, the way the market's going right now, they probably have enough money to get two of those guys if they wanted to. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think we've talked about those guys a fair amount, and they still all make sense for this club. So
yeah,
I think those are the things to watch.
To me, though, if they are signing a free agent, a lower tier free agent, it's either going to be a guy that can play third or second, or a super utility type that can also play some corner outfield, etc. But primarily is going to play in the infield. That's a roundabout way of saying, like, I don't think they're going to sign just strictly an outfielder or strictly a DH.
Yeah, I would say the Nathaniel Lowe and the Carlos Santanas and the Paul Goldschmidts, like I just don't see.
And
those
even
guys.
Maybe Rhys Hoskins.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Although I think Hoskins as a pure DH makes more sense because he's right-handed and he can hit for some power.
Sure.
And he probably had the best year of everybody we talked about. So, I mean, with the exception of Moncada, who was hurt. Right. So, yeah, there are some pretty good options.
Well,
they're not exciting options, but there are guys out there who would definitely help this lineup, lengthen the lineup, and provide depth at the same time. So, they should definitely be checking those guys out as well.
And you're listening to the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, if you want to hear from me and Colby even more and help support the show, we have a Patreon. It's called Control the Zone. Down there we talk Mariners, Seahawks, all that good stuff. For more information, go to patreon.com/Control the Zone. Link in the description of this episode. Also in the description of this episode is the invite link for our new Discord, which we launched last week. We got, 200 people in there now? Something like that. Close, roughly. At least. And it's pretty active now at this point. I think people have kind of found their groove in there. I've seen a lot of discussion happening in there. So if you want to talk Mariners, there's also, football talk in there. There's, non-sports talk in there. There's video game discussion, all that type of stuff. So if that's interesting to you, join our Discord, and that's also the best way to connect with us as well. All right, getting back into your questions here on Mailbag Monday. Tay wants to know, multiple Mariner trade targets are on 2-year contracts with what many believe is a certain and significant lockout coming in 2027. Do you think part of the inability to strike a deal comes from the Mariners not wanting to pay for 2 years of use when they might only get 1?
I don't think that's really a factor, because I think if it was, we would see the Mariners being just as aggressive on rentals as they have been on the Donovan types. Because again, like, if you think you're only getting 1 year of club control for a guy, why would you pay for 2 when you could just pay for 1? In theory, the 1 year guys are cheaper. And, we know that one of the incentives of trading a guy with 1 year left on his contract in the winter is you get a lot more. Like if things go south for the Cubs and they go and try and trade Nico Hoerner this summer, they're not going to get much for him. That's just the way the deadline works for rentals. So no, I don't think that the Mariners are kind of looking at this being like, oh, there might not be a 2027 season, so we're only going to offer you 1 year prices on Donovan. I don't see that at all. I think one of the big things that pulls them towards a guy like Donovan is that he's going to be here in 2027, and he basically can serve as the Randy Arozarena replacement in left field when we kick him out to have Cole Young and Colt Emerson in our infield. So I think that's, the fact that Donovan has 2 years is the reason why the Mariners have been as consistently involved with the Cardinals. We got a little thing from Derek Gould. Is that his name? Cardinals Ryan Divish says that the Mariners are still engaged and they're still talking to the Cardinals about what package of young players it would take to get Donovan. And so they're still in on that market. And I think a big part of that is because he has 2 years. If Brendan Donovan had 1 year of club control left, first of all, he probably would have been traded by now. But second of all, I don't think the Mariners would be nearly as aggressive as they have been. I think that extra year matters to Seattle. So just based on how they've acted in these trade talks, I don't believe the Mariners are looking at 2027 as a potential lost year and not something worth investing in terms of acquisition costs. So, no, I don't think that's what's happening.
Yeah, and while I do think the lockout is going to be significant and drawn out, I don't think we're going to lose baseball for the entire year. I think baseball will be played to a certain degree. And at that point, right, like, it doesn't matter how many games. Ultimately, it's just I need that player for the run that I'm trying to make. If it's only a 60-game season or whatever, so be it. I'm still trying to win the World Series next year.
Right.
So, Brendan Donovan helps me do that.
Mm-hmm. By the way, they were worried about 2027 not, being played or being significantly delayed. They'd probably be shopping Logan Gilbert a little bit harder.
Right. Now, I get what you're saying from the perspective of just like, it's obviously the value is different if I'm paying for, 162 games or 100 or 60, right? Because then you're talking about, it's essentially a year and a half left of club control, not 2 years, right? So that should impact the trade costs, to a certain degree. But, unfortunately, you can't foresee what's going to happen with the lockout. And for all we know, they actually come together on an agreement. I don't think this is likely, but for all we know, they come to an agreement, in short order, and, we don't even miss games, right? Like maybe they have to push some games back like how they did in 2022, but like you don't even At the end of it, like we still play 162 games in 2026 or 2027.
Right. Not to mention the off season next year is probably going to be severely impacted. So it's going to be shrunk down. So the less you have to do next winter, the better in theory. So I think, as many holes as they can fill in the 2027 roster as possible is actually going to be appealing to the Mariners because they're already going to have a lot. JP Crawford and Randy Arozarena are gone.
Yeah.
I highly doubt they're re-signed. So you're already going to have a couple holes. So if you can get Donovan to, fill one of those spots, and then you assume Emerson is a shortstop, and there you go. You have a couple less moves you have to go make if you get somebody who is under club control through 2027. So I don't think it's really impacting anything in that regard.
But the point that I was trying to make though is like that's kind of the risk that you have to assume.
Yeah.
Right. Next 2027, you could be playing 162 games. You could only be playing 60, but you don't know for sure.
I think this is what at the end of if there was no CBA going on next year, like if this was signed and they were 5 years away from this, talk, do I think the Mariners would be offering Senja and Laz Montez for Donovan because they know they're going to get 2 full years out of? No, I don't. Sure. I don't think that would change all that much. So. Interesting thought, but I don't, based on the actions of the team and just kind of walking through the strategy that they would be deploying in that case, I don't see that as being the case now.
All right, last question of the day comes from Taylor. How many wins would this current roster get in 2026? What would the floor / ceiling be? Also, this is our first Discord question. So if you join our Discord, that's another benefit you get. You can also submit mailbag questions in there as opposed to Twitter and Blue Sky.
Some of you guys don't have the social medias we use, and this is just a way to keep everything organized. So there you go. There's your other option. Right now, the Mariners roster as it sits, 85 wins.
Yeah, I'm somewhere in the 84 to 88 range. Now that obviously changes a bit. Like if Colt Emerson pops, right?
Sure.
There's obviously some things that could swing in it. This is me assuming that like Dom Canzone isn't the guy that we saw last year. That Victor,
but also that he's not terrible.
Yeah, Victor Robles is probably a 4th outfielder. Luke Raley does bounce back a bit, but maybe he's not like a 130 WRC plus guy. The rotation is healthier. The bullpen is better spread out, with like the arrival of Ferrer and all that.
Cole Young is at least a major leaguer.
He's
Josh
like
Naylor is. By the way, we talked a lot about Cal Raleigh regressing, which is going to happen. Josh Naylor's pretty heavy regression candidate too, because what he did in Seattle last year in just a third of the season, it's not repeat. He was a 2-win player in a third of a season. Like he's not a 6-win player.
That's his peak.
Yeah. He's not a 6-win player. He's only ever been a 3-win player once.
Yeah.
So just keep that in mind. Like you'll have him for an entire year, sure, but the value will just probably more than likely be spread out over 162 instead of 54.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Naylor's going to be an MVP candidate, which is what he would be if he could spread that 53 or 54 game sample size over the span of 162. So just there are regression candidates. There are boom candidates as well, progression candidates as well. So you kind of have to balance all that out. And I look at it and I say right now, if the over under was 85.5, I'd wait and see.
So, all right. What if Colt Emerson is a rookie of the year caliber type of player?
87.
I was thinking like 90.
I don't think it's going to take more than Colt Emerson.
Even if Emerson's like 4 or 5 win player?
I think it's going to take more than that, because if I assume that, then I assume Cole Young's not going to be very good. Like my baseline is, based on my assumptions, is Cole Young and Colt Emerson, fringe major leaguers this year. I think Robles is a 4th outfielder who doesn't hit much. I don't really trust Canzone. So he's a league average bat. I think Raley, I think Raleigh falls back. I think Naylor falls back. I think Julio probably takes a step. I think Randy's a little more consistent with more rest. I think JP is what he is last year, blah, blah, blah. And I add all that up and I go, okay, so I'm not going to if I assume Emerson's already a 2-win player, then if he's a rookie of the year candidate and he's a 4 or 5-win player, that's 2 or 3 more wins. Like I'm not letting that carry Cole Young's projection for me. So I think, 87 roughly. And keep in mind that when we do these, there's generally like a 5-game swing in either direction.
Right. So, all right, last one. What if Cal passes the baton to Julio for like legitimate MVP contention?
Like Julio's the 9-win player and Cal's the 6-win player?
Yeah.
And Emerson is just kind of...
And let's say Emerson's like a 3-win player.
I could see 90.
Yeah.
But that's a lot of like what ifs. Like the floor for this team, by the way, 77, 78. Yeah. I really don't. I mean, obviously the floor is always catastrophic injuries and it's a lost year. But like realistically, I think the floor 78 to 81 wins, somewhere in that range. I mean, I just don't think the ceiling's very high right now.
I think if they stay healthy, their floor is like 82 wins.
Yeah. I just don't think they have the depth for me to think that their floor is a 500 ball club. Like the lineup after you get through 1 through 4, it's pretty dicey. So I think they need to add at least one more bat to lengthen that lineup a little bit. They probably use another bullpen arm as well. I think there's a real danger here. I think the bigger danger is that the ceiling's not nearly high enough. But if Emerson and Young aren't ready to go, which is totally possible since they're 21 and 22 years old, you are 1 or 2 key injuries away from being, a bottom tier roster in the American League. So I don't love the build right now. I think it's banking on a lot of things going well for you to fall on the positive side.
Unfortunately has been a constant in the Dipoto regime.
Right. You're too much is reliant on coin tosses going in your favor.
Yeah.
That's what I feel about this roster right now. So unless every single one goes in your favor, I have a real hard time seeing them get to 95 plus wins, which is probably what the goal should be. So I think I'm pretty safe in the 84, 85 range, plus or minus 4 or 5 wins. So we'll see what happens, but I don't love the roster right now. I'm not honestly convinced it's better than Houston's at the end of the day, which is a problem. So they have work to do. They go get Donovan. They go get, I don't even know who the reliever would be now at this point. Then it's probably more like a 88 to 90 win team. And I feel like at that point they're probably a little better than Houston.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our show. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Locked On Mariners podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And once again, if you never miss an episode, it's time to make it official. Join the Locked On Everydayer Club and get ad-free audio, access to our members-only Discord, and more, all built for our most loyal fans. Colby Patnode, I'm Titan Gonzalez. Be sure to give us a follow on Twitter at LO_Mariners. You can follow me at Titan Gonzalez and Colby at CPAT11, that's CPAT11. We're also on Blue Sky. You can follow me at TDG, Colby at MLB Colby, and the show at Locked On Mariners. You can also find us on Instagram at Locked On Mariners. Have yourself a beautiful baseball day, and we'll see you next time. Peace.